Practice number 14, kind of just a polish up before shorts today before the scrimmage tomorrow. So tried to come out here, light little workout, only out here about an hour and a half, but tried to get some good polish work with the offense and defense and a little competitive skill at the end. But for the most part, this was just trying to get ready for the scrimmage tomorrow. Scrimmage tomorrow is going to go a long way in developing the depth charts. We kept talking about the depth charts that's when we'll start to put them together is after the scrimmage on the 17th. Plan on we're going to get probably 40 or 50 snaps per team. So we're going to go somewhere between 120 to 150 plays tomorrow with injuries, injuries allowing. But it's going to be a big scrimmage. It's going to be game-like situations. A lot's been made of all the new faces that are on this roster right now and a lot of the new guys that are going to be out there. And this is going to be a great opportunity for them to go out and get an evaluation on where we are right now. It's going to be open to the public. I encourage everybody to come out tomorrow. Come out for the scrimmage. It's going to be 1:30 to 3:30. A lot of people are going to be tailgating here in the afternoon. And then we've got Fan Fest from 6:30 to 8:30. So I encourage everybody to come out, kind of see the 2013 football team, and then have the opportunity to get some autographs and interact with the team after the scrimmage. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. This is the day that we've kind of been waiting for. This is the day that we've been gearing up for. And I'm really excited to get out here tomorrow and get the scrimmage in. But today was light, and it was nice and easy and polished some things up.
Talk about, other than quarterback, that's the obvious position that tomorrow you'll look at a big time. What are some other position battles you are looking to really get tomorrow out of?
Offensive line, there's some good battles going on with the offensive line right now. There's some good battles at linebacker. There's some good battles at wide receiver. Some good battles in the secondary right now, as we've talked about. We've rolled them in groups, but told them nothing's really concrete until we come out of this first scrimmage. And after this scrimmage is when we'll really start kind of gearing up for NC State. After this scrimmage is when you start to whittle it down. We've been rolling 3 groups with as many reps as we get. We've been rolling 3 groups, a lot of reps out here. A lot of guys have been getting work, but we'll start to whittle that down, and we'll start getting into a little bit more of scout teams and starting to get prepared for the season in NC State and the season opener.
Talk about that quarterback position. Is it still pretty even between Scotty and Ryan?
I think coming out of spring, it was Scotty's. That was pretty evident in the spring game. But I think Ryan's gotten a lot better. Ryan's doing some really good things. He's making some good plays. It's still a couple plays a day, 1 play a day that he's got to eliminate. He's making some really good plays, but for that position in particular, it's that consistency you're looking for in protecting the football. And that's one of the reasons that Scotty came out of spring as the number 1 was because he was doing such a good job of protecting the ball, which I think he's continued to develop. He's continuing to do some good things, but I think Ryan's coming on strong and getting better and better every day. And I think tomorrow, again, we'll go a long way in seeing how he's going to respond in a team-like atmosphere.
How about your secondary? You still got a lot of young guys back there with inexperienced.
Yeah.
What do you expect to see out of them tomorrow?
Well, since spring we've added even more inexperience. When you start talking about Xavier Woods and Pinson and McDonald and some new faces that are back there, but I'm expecting just to see us be able to go out, execute the calls made, and watch us play football. This is not going to be a scheme game. This is not going to be trying to out-scheme each other and putting in special plays or certain blitzes or certain calls. This is going to be base offense and base defense, and this is going to be an evaluation scrimmage. Not an evaluation of the offense and the defense, but where we are and who's ready to play, and in particular in the secondary, because you do have a lot of new faces back there. You got Grogan and Bryce's, and you got guys like, 3 or 4 corners that have really done a good job, and Abrahams and Darius Barn and Liggins, but there's some other guys that are going to have an opportunity tomorrow, and this is going to be an important scrimmage onto whether or not they're going to be in the 2 deep or not.
You said several times that you're not where you need to be yet as a team. What specifically are you looking for, or that you think you need improvement on the most?
Consistency. We come out here and there's some good plays made on both sides of the ball. We may complete a big play offensively and make some big plays and look really good at times, and then other times we're turning a guy free and taking a sack and jumping off sides, and then you're moving backwards. So I think offensively the biggest thing is not turning the ball over and eliminating the lost yardage plays, trying to find the consistency that it takes in order to be a good offensive football team. And from a defensive standpoint, in the opening game in particular, you always worry about tackling. That's one of the things you always worry about because it's so hard to duplicate live on a day-to-day basis just to try and prevent injuries. So you always worry about tackling and giving up the big play. I mean, so right now there's flashes on both sides of the ball at times that we're doing some really good things, and there's some talent out here on the field, but there's not the consistency that we need to be the type of football team we want to become. And we're going to learn a lot about this football team probably here after the scrimmage in the next week. I think everybody gets excited at the beginning of camp, and everybody gets excited at the end. That's what kind of progress you make in the middle, and how much you get out of every one of those practices in the middle that really makes a difference for the season.
So much of camp is Groundhog Day, just the same thing over and over and over. Next week, when you get past the scrimmage, you start formulating the depth chart, scout team, and you start looking towards NC State. Is that where it gets really exciting for the coaching staff? You've got an opponent coming up. You've got a game plan in place to teach the kids and implement that?
Well, I think for coaches, I think this to me is just as exciting and as much fun as getting ready for an opponent, because you're evaluating your own team. It's not about getting ready for an opponent, but it's about getting your team ready and figuring out who you're going to work with, where you're going to put the pieces of the puzzle to try and put your offense or defense together. So I don't know if it's so much an excitement difference, but it is definitely a difference when you get into the season. I think this team will be excited to break camp, and I think they're ready to quit hitting each other and ready to get into a game-like atmosphere. But that's the nervousness of the unknown that you never really know as you go through camp. You just don't know. Are you making those big plays on offense because your defense is giving them up, or you're making them because you're a pretty good offense, and vice versa from a defensive standpoint. So I'm ready to put our depth chart together and kind of start to take that next step where you really start to get into the season mentality. But it's exciting. It's just different. It's just as exciting. It's just different.
Consistency really is the key to college football. If people were consistent, everybody win every week.
No doubt. That is the object. Right?
When you compare this team to all the teams you've been around in your lifetime, how do they compare whenever you look at their preparedness this far?
Well, we're not as consistent as I would like to be, and I think a lot of that is the youth that we talked about, and a lot of that is because we've been rolling 3 teams. You're rolling a lot of people, and I don't necessarily look and say, oh, that was him or that was him, as much as I try and look at the big picture on where we are as an offense and a defense, and we're not there yet. Where are we compared to other teams? That's hard to say. I think every team is different. I've said before that every team has a life expectancy of 1 year. This is a different team than last year's team. I think with all the returners that were coming back a year ago, they're probably a lot farther ahead than where we are right now with all the youth and inexperience. But that's why I think this next week is going to be so important to us. It's not only when we make that identification on who we're going to work with, but how much better we can get in a week when we really start to put together that game plan and really start to narrow it down and aren't rolling as many people.
It seems like every coach relates camp to the movie Groundhog Day. What would you do if that movie was never made?
Well, we'd probably have another term, but it would be the grind of camp. It would be the dog days of camp, which is what we always said before this. But it's a grind. I mean, it's a grind, and every day you're going through the same things. You're getting up early in the morning, you're getting treatment, you're going to position meetings, your OD meetings, you're lifting, you're doing walkthroughs, you're coming back out here, having an afternoon practice, night meetings. I mean, we're eating dinner at 9:30 at night. So, I mean, these are full days right now. And so for the players, it is a grind, and it's hard, and it's a mental challenge to not fall into the routine where you just are going through the motions, where you got to make the most out of them. And I talk about it. I mean, it's about being a professional. Be a pro. I mean, when you go into a meeting, be professional about it. Be a student of the game. Get in there, pay attention, watch, ask questions, kind of understand the big picture. Same thing when you come out here on the field. It's about getting as much out of it as you can, physically as well as mentally.
Sterling Griffin, how is he coming along? How do you see him fitting in with the receivers?
I mean, we'll find out a little bit more tomorrow. I think he's doing a good job. I mean, he tweaked his hamstring a little bit coming out here early. But, I mean, he's kind of fighting through it right now, so he's been a little bit hampered. But I think he's done a good job of picking up the offense right now. But that's one of those guys that, I think he's got a chance from a talent and experience standpoint to be in the mix. But where he's going to be is going to be predicated tomorrow. And that's where we talked about some of the battles that are going on at some of these different positions.